So I've been wanting to make a follow-up to my Portal video for some time now, and there's really not a short supply of Portal-inspired games. But it's taken me a little bit longer to get around to it because I've had a hard time finding ones that have been worthy of my recommendation. I played about 12 different Portal-like games, and the 5 that I'm recommending here are the only ones that I really think are worth your time. It's hard to find the right balance with these puzzle games, and it's magic when they do end up pulling it off. You want them to have puzzles that are challenging enough to be interesting, but not too difficult that it gets frustrating. And then there's also the act of just completing the puzzle. Let me give you a little example here to kind of illustrate what I mean. I really wanted to like Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, and I know it's not a Portal-like game, but it's just my example, stick with me here. In that game, you figure out a solution to a puzzle, and then you enact that solution, which is just slowly waddling around, and I found that to be not that engaging. But then if you look at a game like Portal, you figure out the solution to a puzzle, then you do it. And then the actual doing of the puzzle is fun in and of itself because it's pretty fast-paced. The physics and platforming nature of it is also fun on top of solving the problem at hand. And in a lot of the games that I played, they just didn't quite get that right. That's enough of my little thesis here. Let's just get right into the video. I got some recommendations for some Portal-like games that I think you should check out if you want some more Portal-like games. So, Antichamber is by far the most recommended game in the comments section to my last Portal Spiritual Successors video. A lot of people brought up its similarities to Manifold Garden, which I absolutely loved and talked about in my last one. And yeah, it is pretty similar in a lot of stylistic ways. The gameplay mainly revolves around solving puzzles, but these puzzles are pretty perplexing, and sometimes you're not even sure what the puzzle is, or the solution, even though you already solved the puzzle. It's abstract in a way that I found cool and interesting, but I also found it a little perplexing in a baffling way at times, but I did appreciate my time with it. I didn't love it in the way that I did Manifold Garden, but I do appreciate Antichamber for its abundance of experimental and interesting ideas, and it really has a ton of them. The visuals here are a bit more minimalistic than Manifold Garden, and I think it's a really interesting aesthetic that it goes for. A lot of sharp lines, angles, and harsh colors. That lends itself to a pretty simple visual representation of what's going on, to less complicate things, even though it's still pretty complicated. My favorite thing about Antichamber, though, is that it's a systems-based puzzle game, just like Portal, in a way that gives you a lot of tools and systems that you can use and even exploit to solve things and do things in maybe not in the most intended ways. I'll admit that a lot of the comments built up this game to a level that it just didn't quite meet for me, but despite all my little strange things in the back of my head, I ultimately still recommend it. It's a very distinct, interesting, experimental game that we needed back when it came out, and games like Manifold Garden kind of just refined on some of the rougher edges of this one. The second game I want to recommend is Perspective, which is a student project that was developed at DigiPen in 2012, which is where a lot of the developers from Portal came from when they made the student game Narbacular Drop, which eventually led to Portal. The standout feature of Perspective, though, is its perspective shifting mechanic, which allows you to, at a push of a button, seamlessly switch between first-person exploration mode and a 2D platformer. You can draw some comparisons between Perspective and Superliminal, which isn't really much of a surprise because one of the developers of Perspective went on to later work on Superliminal. You end up navigating through levels in first person to find the perfect point of view to get to so you can switch to the 2D platformer mode to get the 2D platformer character through the level and to the end. And it's really innovative and super cool to see how well the systems and mechanics work here. You can download and play Perspective on Steam for free. Even though it's not really a full game, it's more of a proof of concept. It's a really incredible student game, and I highly recommend checking out Perspective. On my previous video, one of the original programmers who worked on Portal left a comment which recommended a few of the games that he liked himself. And the one that I never heard of I checked out, and I absolutely loved it. It's called Lightmatter, and it's Portal with light. Well, that's a little too productive. The shadows and darkness in the world have been turned into like a deadly, the floor is lava like sort of thing. So if you touch the darkness, you die. So the game consists of you navigating through the levels, avoiding the darkness at all costs, moving these like lamps and beacons around that illuminate a path so that you can get to the next level. And just like Portal, while you're solving puzzles, you have a voice talking to you, flushing out the world, and building a pretty interesting story while you play. The voice that is talking to you the whole time is played by David Bateson, who you might know as the voice of Agent 47. He plays the CEO of a tech company called Lightmatter, and you're in the middle of the giant downfall of the company while you're in the building. There's even quite a few points where he talks about aperture science, and loosely ties the game to Portal.
At Lightmatter Technologies, we treat our inanimate objects with respect, not like those monsters of aperture science.
And I think it actually works pretty well as a Portal spin-off. I don't know exactly how official that is, but it kind of just slots nicely into the world of aperture science. And in Valve-like fashion, you play as a character like Shell or Gordon Freeman who doesn't speak. And there's a lot of speculation that comes from Virgil, the CEO, on who you are, what you're doing, and why you're even in the building in the first place. And I found that pretty interesting to just go along with some of his speculations because you don't know what's going on, really. It has some great mechanics, meticulously crafted puzzles, and the story is pretty fun. So I easily highly recommend checking out Lightmatter. The next two games aren't quite Portal spiritual successors, loosely, very loosely. They both show up on a lot of lists that talk about Portal-inspired games, so I think that's enough reason to allow me to have them in this video. Because they still do have some elements that, if you like Portal, you might like these as well. The first one is A Story About My Uncle. And this one isn't really much of a puzzle game, it's more of a flying through the air with momentum, that kind of game. It's a feeling that you do get from the Portal games when you're flying through the air, especially in Portal 2. It's kind of like the height of the roller coaster momentum drop feeling. So it's a first-person parkour-like game that revolves around a grappling hook-like device that allows you to tether onto floating stones, rocks, islands. But also, while you do this, just like Portal, there's a story happening. And the character you're playing as is looking for their missing uncle, who has built a lot of amazing technology that you're able to take advantage of, including the grappling hook. And he has ended up going missing in another world. And in this strange alien world, you end up finding societies of people, strange artifacts, and there's a lot of interesting lore that exists here. But the real heart of the game is the fluid, flying through the air, momentum speed-based gameplay. There's a good variety of interesting environments and locations that you can fly your way through. And while it doesn't look like the most modern game in the world, it still is relatively pretty, at least in an art design sense. I'd say if you're into games like Mirror's Edge or even the Counter-Strike surf maps, you definitely should give this one a look. As for the world and characters, it gives me the vibe of like a science fiction Disney animated movie, kind of like Treasure Planet a bit. Overall, I recommend A Story About My Uncle for people who are looking for something that's a little fun, fluid, and maybe a little bit charming. Alright, last game here I want to discuss is a short one. It's basically a point-and-click adventure game, and it's not much of a Portal-like, but it just happens to be a puzzle game that you play in first person. But if you're into pretty simple, straightforward point-and-click adventure stuff, I think you should check this one out. Discolored is set at a roadside diner, and the objective is to return color to the world by finding these different artifacts all over the diner and surrounding area. The puzzle solving here isn't as freeform as something like Portal, or something I would even call Portal-like. It's very rudimentary, very basic, A to B to C to D, that sort of thing. Structurally, it's very similar to something like an escape room. There's even a Discolored 2 that's supposed to be coming out relatively soon, and from the trailer it looks like they're upping the production values and adding NPCs and mechanics, and I think it looks pretty promising. But for the first Discolored, I recommend checking it out, but make sure you get it when it's on sale. It's usually on sale for like $2. I wouldn't pay more than that for this. This is a good $2 hour and a half sort of experience, but I think the typical price is probably a little bit too steep for what you get here. But yeah, I recommend checking out Discolored, and I'm looking forward to the sequel. Alright, and that was my second video on Portal spiritual successors, or Portal inspired games, or Portal clones, whatever you want to call them. I know there's a ton of obvious ones out there that I haven't talked about yet. There's like the Talos Principle, Viewfinder, Quantum Conundrum, the list goes on and on. So eventually I'll take a look at those and make a part 3. And if you like this video, be like the other 660-ish other people and subscribe. And yeah, why not share the video too? That'd be great. YouTube isn't really surfacing my stuff that much right now. And it'd be great if you could share this video with like a Discord or on Reddit or something. I don't know. It's just, I'd like to have some more eyes on these videos. With all that said, thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. Thank you for watching. Thanks for watching. Thank you for watching.